Many times I have asked myself, as a retired Army bandmaster, one question: what is the official version of the history of our famous bugle call, TAPS? I found my answer at the U.S. Army War College Library in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Listen now as I describe it through the letters of Private Norton Bugler and Brigadier General Butterfield, commander of the 3rd Brigade of the Union Army of the Potomac. On the night of Wednesday, July 2nd, 1862, we were camped at Harrison's Landing in Virginia. During the day's battle, we helped repel the Confederate soldiers, but in doing so we suffered many losses, mostly young men who were volunteers and friends of our commander. That evening he was still quite visibly shaken. After our dinner meal, I was summoned to bring my bugle manual to the general's tent. When I arrived, I noticed he was sitting by his table with the lantern lit, and on the table was an envelope that had some lines written on it in pencil. He told me he was inspired to create another bugle call. He had already added to my repertoire of 56 calls with his own Dan, Dan, Dan Butterfield call, which the men, knowing it was his call, were used to in moving from one location to another. So I was not taken by surprise then that he wanted to add another new call. This new call he had in his mind, he told me, was to be played slowly and to sound like a prayer at the end of the night, as it was in memory of all his young fallen soldiers. He said he was uncomfortable with the fast pace of the tattoo call I played by regulation at the end of each day, and he wanted this day especially to end with a solemn prayer-type call. I showed him the music for tattoo. Now he admitted to me a fact which I had already known, that he could not read music nor even write it out, even though from his memory he knew all the calls I played from the manual as part of his requirement to lead us. He directed my attention to the last 6 measures of the regulation tattoo call. His pencil lines, he told me, referred to the changes that he wanted to make at the beginning and at the end of the call. I changed the value and the pitch of these 2 notes prior to this extracted section, and also at the end as he directed. After making sure these changes met with his approval, I sang the call quietly to him. He was pleased. However, each time I sang it to him, he told me to sing it slower until I was at the correct tempo that he desired it to be played. He called this new call TAPS, and after thanking me, then dismissed me with the orders to play it that night in place of tattoo. At the appropriate hour, I played this new TAPS call. I must admit it was just as he had indicated, a prayer from the voice of a bugle. As I played it in the still of the night air, I could hear the start of the echo over the landing. The next morning I was besieged by other buglers to explain to them what I had played. They told me their commanders wanted them to play the same call each night also. Listen now as I play for you the authentic Army version of TAPS, which originated at Harrison's Landing in Virginia on a wet, damp Wednesday night in a tent on July 2nd, 1862, and has been played honoring all our fallen heroes ever since for the past 150 years. If you listen carefully, you can also hear the echo in the distance.